Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton. Along with me, as always, is the broad jump burpee boinger, Bethany McChesney. Which, if you know Bethany, I've talked to her, that makes sense. And if you don't, that just is a completely ludicrous name. Makes no sense. But
That's
I
true.
assure
If
you,
you want to know, you can ask me.
it is not dirty. Tell you that.
No, it's not.
It's not a dirty thing. All right. Guess what we're going to talk about? Hyrox. Drop my chip. Hyrox Vegas. Don't worry. I've got more chips. I got three. So yeah, Hyrox Vegas. You want to just jump in, Beth? You want to go first?
Yeah, do you want to talk about our races first? Do you want to talk about the Elite 15?
Ladies' choice. I am well versed.
And well, maybe let's go in order of as the events happened.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. I was the greatest Elite 15 judge of all time.
Most importantly, with the Elite 15, Dave got to judge.
They say that the guy in the 12th lane of the judging Elite 15 is the most important lane. This is well known, well known. And that was me in the 12th lane, judging the 12th place person, which is very important. And no, actually, yeah, yeah. In truth, I did get to do the Elite 15 judging, and it was awesome. I had a great time with that, and it was really. I thought the Elite 15 judging was good.
Yeah, and I saw some no repping and I saw them sending people back when they were slightly over the lines, and I talked to some of the girls like Amy and Kate and Lauren, and they were saying how with their speeches to the Elite 15 also they talked about how they are the example. Everyone's looking to them. So you have the responsibility of being in that position where everyone's watching you. So do it right. Like no trying to cut corners and stuff. So and you did see that with the Elite 15, and I thought that was so fantastic. They know reps, everything was, and they said to them too, like to your judging point, to be picky about it, because again that's how we elevate the sport. So we shouldn't have those questionable situations happening in the Elite 15. And if they know they're going to get no reps, then they do watch the lines when they're stepping into the lunges, and their hand placement when doing burpees and all those little things. So I thought it was really, really well done.
It was the Elite 15 was put together well. What did you think about the monitors for the Elite 15? The wall ball counters.
I mean, so I was at the stands where I couldn't see them.
Hmm.
So, but from a spectator standpoint, seeing that number, it very much changes the viewership quality for watching the wall balls, because otherwise you don't really know where people are at.
So I'm gonna say when it works, it's awesome,
Yeah.
but there's still obviously quite a few glitches. Um, I think it was Joanna's kicked out at like 60 or 80 or something like that and just stopped counting.
Huh.
And I can actually attest, and we'll talk about our races later, but in my race, ours stopped at 99.
Mhm.
It just conked
Yeah.
out it. Yeah, and it just decided I'm done. So
Yeah.
so there's still some glitches. It was not just us. Jeff
Jeff's was stopped at 96. Yeah.
96. So there's
Something
still
like that.
some
Yeah.
glitches to work out with that, both
Yeah.
in tech and in operation of said. So yeah, I'm kind of
It was better.
I think it's better. I think it's got a future, and I don't think it affected the race, especially with joining, because they did prepare us as judges for if this happens
Mhm.
to be ready with to count when it if
So
it
the judges still had their clickers.
yes, and that was the backup. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I think it is moving towards what we need in the sport for
Mhm.
viewership, and even when you're the athlete to see that number is very helpful, because you don't always know, not all the judges count out
Mhm.
loud. And
Yeah.
unless you're counting yourself, you don't always necessarily know. So I do think it's necessary. And with technology, there's going to be bugs to be worked out. I did find I was really nervous about how sensitive it was going to be and
Mhm.
hitting that perfect pinpoint little center laser, and it was not that bad. So
I
I did,
thought I thought the sensitivity was dialed in perfect.
yeah,
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 yeah. Yeah, I thought that was an issue before, and they fixed that, and that gives me hope that they will work out these other bugs too.
Yeah.
All right. So what about the race itself? So you want to start with the women were first.
Yeah, the women were first. Yeah. So with the Elite 15, I think it always kind of goes how you think it's gonna go at the beginning. Lauren Weeks takes it out hot. And then it's just kind of a matter of what happens from there.
It's not,
So
it's
that
not
is what
Lauren taking it out hot anymore. It's just Lauren running.
it is. Lauren's pace. I know it's not her taking it out fast. That is, and you see it within the splits. She doesn't really slow down.
Hmm.
Yeah, so Lauren took it out and she maintained that lead throughout the whole race and did we were keeping track of her gap and there were points where Joanna would make up the 10 seconds at the station and then Lauren would claw it back on the run and it was very much like that throughout the race, but after lunges or burpee broads, one of the last stations it was she had very significantly distanced herself from Joanna, and I think mentally from Joanna's standpoint too, when you do get that much of a gap, it's mentally hard to keep racing and that person ahead of you. So Lauren did end up winning by a pretty substantial amount. It was, well, yeah, 2 minutes over Joanna. But then the battle is always what's happening around that third to sixth or seventh position, and even up to second place. And because again, a lot of the girls in this field still had to punch their ticket.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it's so interesting to watch how much can change within one station. And I find the women's race even more interesting because a lot of the women have very different racing strategies. And we had Lauren come in, Joanna, just so the order, Linda Meyer, Amy Belavacqua, Lucy Proctor, and then Kate Davies. And a couple of those girls, like Amy runs from the back from the very beginning.
He was dead last in the first
Yeah.
run.
Yeah, and it's always how she goes, and she has said before she just cannot go out that fast, but she makes it up as she goes. And yeah, and Lucy Proctor was not at the front either, and
Sorry, my bad. Amy was second last in the first run. Lucy was last in the first run.
yeah. And it wasn't what I would have predicted. Just I would have kind of expected Lucy to get a little bit overly excited and then go out and try to hang with the top girls, but she ran such a smart race. Very well composed, kept her running up to her ability and kept it really consistent. And yeah, Amy ended up just 20 seconds out of the top three and just same thing, used her strengths to her advantage and same with Lucy and it was just such an exciting race and even Kate Davey was up there in the top three for a bit and then a little bit pushed out the back and there's just so much back and forth.
I thought I never got a chance to talk with Lucy, but I thought she obviously is incredibly mature for her age and very seasoned in racecraft because of
Yeah,
the way she handled that. Like
yeah,
this confidence in herself, confidence in her strategy, confidence in her training was amazing. And you don't necessarily expect that from a girl who's her age. I think she's about 20,
22.
22, 22. Yeah. So you don't expect that. I mean, Joanna in a similar thing, but Joanna has that initial she can go out hot with the rest of them.
Yeah.
So I thought that was amazing. Amy is just unbelievable. This is also the first time Amy did her wall balls unbroken.
I think she did 90 or did she do them unbroken?
She said she did them unbroken in one of her press.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Okay. I could be mixing up people's stories too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe
This
she
is
did, yeah.
been so many we've looked at.
I know.
But I was lucky enough this time to have a lot of time to get to chat with Amy and to get to know her. And oh my God, she's awesome. She's absolutely hilarious. She's amazing. She's super fun and just a smart athlete. She's a big fan of Amy and what she's doing. And
Mhm.
um, and just for the record, she's 51, not 54.
Who said 54?
Apparently, on another podcast, and some people were saying she's 54. She made sure to let us know she's 51.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yes, she's an amazing athlete and a really cool person. And she taught us too that if you ever want to run doubles with an elite athlete, just message them out of the blue. Apparently, that's okay.
Yeah, she did run doubles with, well, it was a man who's in her age group, so they wanted to go for their age group world record, which I'm assuming they did.
They got it.
Yeah.
They got it. Yep.
Yeah, she didn't know him either. She met him that day, so that was pretty cool.
That was very awesome. And yeah, she was a lot of fun and great to be here. So I'm super happy to get to know Amy. All right, what else took you on the women's race?
Um, yeah, I mean, for me, it was really I was very curious about what Lucy Proctor was going to do in her first Elite 15, and she looked like she belonged and like she'd been doing this her whole life. Just very, very composed, very confident, and within control. So we had the three women then that punched their ticket. So we had and Linda Meyer. This was where she did qualify, right? She had not been before.
Correct, correct.
Yeah. So Linda Meyer, who, we would assume that she would get in there eventually. Amy Belavacqua and then Lucy Proctor did get that ticket. So the third place there. So because Lauren and Joanna had already had it, and then so it rolls down from there. And Kate, who was the next girl, already has hers as well. So
I think beforehand that I had picked Amy and Linda to get their qual. I did not pick Lucy Proctor as far as I know. And completely, I will admit, completely underestimated her and was really blown away with just her performance in general. I look forward to more great things from her. That was an excellent race. Yeah.
well, and I also so Kate and Lauren and then Lauren Griffith also who has her spot. Every time I saw Lauren Griffith, she was smiling. And like imagine how much more fun it would be to be able to race knowing the pressure of qualifying for Worlds is off of your shoulders too. But I was like, man, she has smiled through this whole race.
Playing with house money in
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah. But and she looked great. She was up there with Kate right behind her. So yeah, it was fun.
Why don't we throw this in so we don't forget it? Speaking of unsurprising records to fall, women's four women relay. Lauren Griffith, Lauren Weeks, Kate Davey, and Zara Pariani,
Yeah.
smashing the women's record. Good luck to the next set of women who try to beat that.
Yeah.
It like might be one of the best teams ever.
Yeah. What they 53 minutes?
Yeah, there's something in that neck of the woods. But you're talking four women out of the Elite 15 running together, and
Yeah.
that was awesome. Anyway, okay. From the women to we had three women drop out.
Yeah. So we had Jade Skillen and then
Viola.
oh Viola.
Yeah, we have Viola was that other one. She was we saw her later on, I think the next day, and she just was not well.
She was sick also, right?
Yeah, exactly. She was not well. And she just said she just couldn't.
Yeah.
So and then the other one was
Jana?
yeah, I believe it was Yana. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to talk to Jade or Yana, so I'm not sure what happened with them. Why they had to drop out, but I felt bad because I mean they obviously all three of those women traveled a great distance to go to that race, and then to have it go like that for them, I felt really bad.
Hmm.
But yeah, I felt very disappointed for them. One more thing for me from the women's race, I did also get to judge and work with Jess Petro. And she came by and I like to say when people do nice things and classy things, she came by and found me later on and just said thank you and appreciated the judging and the good work and all that stuff. So that's always nice when people,
Yeah.
when the high level athletes understand that it takes a lot of people to make the sport happen. So I thought she was very classy. And then her and her husband threw down in the doubles. They were damn fast.
Hmm.
Yeah, her husband is a hell of an athlete too. So I
Hmm.
believe they won their age group. So
Hmm. Yeah. And they were racing very head to head with Amy and her partner, who I
and
don't, yeah.
and you.
Well, there was very far from being head to head with them. They were in our race. We did see them once in a while.
Yeah, I said that was such a great. I was still pissed off that wave had everybody in it and running
Oh,
higher 20 minutes behind in the 1150 wave. Like, this
yeah. We
sucks.
were walking into the corral and, Chris Rogloski's there with a partner, Tara Jackson's there with a partner, Amy Velovac was there with a partner, Jess Petro. They're like, oh my goodness. this is this is gonna be so fast. Who else do you see? There was another Elite 15 male in there, and like, oh man. And then it just goes out, and we're spit out the back, and we're still running like a 330 kilometer. Oh God.
But it was a great wave. Yeah, I was so disappointed we didn't get to be in that one. Someone told me just jump in, just write a new number on your sleeve. No one will know. Probably could have got away with it, but I did
Yeah,
not. I did not do it.
yeah, that was a fun race.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, anything else about the women's would that caught you? Like that caught other than that, it's funny. I do think about Kate Davey because Kate Davey's one that if she had came sixth in a major last year, we would have all been, oh my God, what a performance. And now it almost seems underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, now we're always kind of putting Kate in that top three, it seems like, because she's had such a really good last 8 months, let's say. So, but yeah, she didn't have a bad performance.
No.
Again, she has her spot, and that definitely would play into the mental game. And those girls like Linda and Amy and Lucy, it's that little edge that it takes to, and it's really their difference would have been like 30 seconds. So like at the end, you still had 10 girls all wall balling at the same time. So
Yeah, yeah, it was a great race. It was great. All right, what about the men? The men, well, we had yeah, you go on. You deal with it. I'll jump in.
yeah, yeah. So the men, I mean, Hunter what came, and it's been a while since we've seen Hunter racing, and I don't think most people playing the odds would have put Hunter out of the top three. So it did go up very hot. So we had Tim Vinage took it out, and JK is there, and obviously Dylan races a smart race and Hunter, but it very much ended up a two man race with Hunter and Dylan. And probably one of the most exciting races at the Elite 15 that I've seen before, with just a pure head-to-head battle and stations. One might gain a couple seconds advantage, and then they'd be back on the run, and they'd be shoulder to shoulder. And it we saw Hunter starting to falter a little bit on burpees, which was maybe when I first thought, like, Dylan can do this now, because traditionally Hunter is the best in the world at burpees, and he was taking breaks. And part of me too, because Hunter is also a very strategic and he plays mental games sometimes with his
Mhm.
competitors. And I was like, is he doing this on purpose to just let Dylan think that maybe he has him, and then he's just going to do something ridiculous after and run him down or something? So you just don't really know. But Hunter was taking breaks on burpees. And yeah, and then Dylan really made his move on the lunges. And we know that's also a station that Dylan does fare really well in. And I was thinking about that workout that he did not that long ago, where he did 1,000 lunges for time. I'm like, this is definitely a place where he's not gonna falter.
No.
And yeah, he pulled ahead on the lunges, and then and same thing, because what we saw with the head-to-head battle with Dylan and Rich Ryan, I was like, he's got to have 30 wall balls on Hunter.
Mm.
Hunter can do these unbroken if he needs to, and he came in and he had 15 wall balls on Hunter, and I was like, I don't know if it's enough. And then we saw Hunter break in the wall balls, and Dylan broke a couple after, and he did. So Dylan ended up taking it by a mere 15 seconds. Yeah, 20 seconds on Hunter. So it was an extremely exciting race. And yeah, so kudos to Dylan. He did take it in the end. So just edged him out.
I think when it came to the wall balls, I think Dylan had it in his mindset. I'm going to go until Hunter breaks, and then I'll break when he breaks,
Hmm.
and just essentially manage that gap. Now, Hunter was gaining slowly because he does have a faster cadence than Dylan on
Yeah.
the wall balls. So
Hmm.
when Hunter broke, and I think Dylan did a few more just to edge that out, and then just kept rolling. He again raced an incredibly smart race. Since we're talking about Dylan, a lot of controversy on the shoes.
Yeah, so Dylan took off his shoes going into wall balls. So Dylan was wearing this new shoe it's a Brooks shoe, and it doesn't have a heel. So if you're when you're running faster, typically your stride hits forefoot and toes anyways. So the heel isn't necessary, and it's just the design of the shoe. So we saw, and Lauren Weeks was wearing them also. And I did notice it made her burpee broads look kind of funny because
Yeah.
you only can end up on the front of your feet. And when you're jumping, traditionally you would land on your heels,
Mm.
but it kind of it would like she would jam her toes into the ground when she landed. So I first noticed the shoes when she was doing that, but rocking onto your heels doing wall balls would be extremely awkward when there's no heel on the back of your shoe. So he took his shoes off going into wall balls. So there was controversy about that again, because people were saying it says in the rule book you have to finish with what you started with,
It does not.
which it does not. Uh-huh.
It does not. And it not only does it not say you can't take your shoes off, it doesn't say that you have to carry them across the line, as was said on the live stream. That was a mistake. So the announcer said that he can take his shoes off, but he needs to carry them across the line with him. That is nowhere in the rule book either, and that was a mistake on the commentator's part.
Right, and we compared it to the amount of people that throw off their shirt in the middle of the race. Not like it happens everybody, but people do sometimes lose clothing during the race. A lot of the men sometimes we'll see they'll wear it until after the sleds, and then they'll get rid of it. So we don't see them finding their shirt to finish with it crossing the
Yeah.
line.
And it is essentially the same thing,
Mm.
Same as like if Bronco, who races with a hat, very often seems to be his thing now. If he was to ditch the hat, on the wall ball so he could see the target better or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same rule. Now, so your opinion, we know it's not a rule. Should it be a rule that you can't take your shoes off? And if not, should it be a rule that you have to bring them across the line?
So I don't think it should be a rule that they are not allowed to take their shoes off. What I am just thinking about is if this starts to be a thing and everyone starts doing it, then I think you should have to take your shoes because it could be something that people could end up tripping over.
Yeah,
Uh,
I 100% agree.
yeah. But I mean, if they want to take them off, I pity the judges if this becomes a thing because I can imagine it'd be a very smelly station if it became a thing. But I don't think there's any problem if someone wants to take their shoes off. Just I think they should take them with them.
Do you know who else took their shoes off for the wall balls? Riley.
Really?
Yep, she did. And it's a good thing too, because I wanted her to do all the work, so that worked better for me. Yeah, apparently some others did as well. But I mean, I think we suggested it before. So a friend of ours, Sue Rice, she was really struggling with the wall balls, and she had some aggressive shoes, and we're like, just pop them off in New York. I don't know if she actually did or not, but we were screaming, "Take our shoes off!" Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's no rule against it. I totally agree with you, though. No problem with it happening, but yeah, for housekeeping's sake, otherwise the wall ball area would be littered with shoes eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Be
there,
like our mudroom.
yeah, but I tell you what, though. New job, if they don't make it a rule, we just scoop up all the shoes out of the wall ball area and sell them used. It'd be fantastic.
Hmm.
Lots of money to be made there, used shoes. Um, yeah, so and then I guess before we go back to the race, I don't know, let's go back to the race and we'll talk about other Dylan stuff. All right. In that race too, Dylan and Hunter obviously were the main event, but there were still three and they were claimed two of the spots for Worlds.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
interesting.
so Dylan and Hunter took two spots because they hadn't qualified yet.
And the third spot for me was probably an even bigger surprise than Lucy Proctor
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Bo Wills.
Yeah, and I mean Anthony said it.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Hmm.
He's coach. He's gonna say it all the time. No, I mean it doesn't matter who. But no, Anthony's a smart dude, and he said watch out for Bo Willis, and he was right. Like I did not see that coming.
No. Yeah. And again, like the women's race, those spots from third to eighth are just back and forth all race, and you don't really know. And we did see Rich Ryan in there. We saw Ryan Kent in there at some points, like in that top 3, 4, and one station can change it. And obviously James Kelly was in there for a lot of it too.
Mhm.
Trailed off a little bit later in the race. And yeah, Bo Willis. Um, yeah, he took that third place spot, and then James Kelly was right behind him. So
And
very nice for Bo.
that was a little bit of a surprise for me. Was James Kelly a bit? I hate to say fourth place underperformed, but it wasn't his best race, and I guess that really just states at what a level he's at now. When fourth place isn't your best race.
Yeah. kind of like we were saying with Kate. Um, yeah, and Tim Vinich also, I think a lot of people put him a lot higher up, and he did take the race out, and it seemed to not be his day.
I have no information to back this up, but I'm convinced that Tim was not 100%. I was when they did their introduction, I was over by the corral, the starting corral, making sure that the guys went where they needed to go. And so they ran across where the wall balls area, so everybody sees them in the grandstands, and then they went around part of the track and then over to the starting corral. And Tim like stopped and walked kind of halfway to the corral and did not look well. And the
Oh,
they stopped for a second. I'm like, oh, something's not right here. Now, I expected right off the hop, I thought he might even drop out right away. He did not look good. Maybe I don't know him well enough, and maybe this is just a thing, or maybe he's nerves or something. But when he went out that hot off the start, I was very confused. And then, he did drop off later. So, but I'm convinced he was not 100%.
yeah, that could be.
Whether it was the travel or something, he just looked off at that moment. I was like I said, he looked as off enough to me that I thought he might just call it a day.
Yeah, well, good for him for finishing.
Yeah, he worked hard and it was great. Um, Speaking of finishing, I wasn't even sure how to bring this up or to tie if this was a right thing to talk about. Ryan Kent. Ryan Kent, we all know, has been struggling, has been fighting demons. That shouldn't say demons. He's been fighting grief,
Hmm.
right? And dealing with it, and it's affected his performance on the course. And he's really struggled to find his motivation and his will to finish. And he he came last.
Hmm.
But I think this is the most important last place finish he will ever have because I think he needed to go out there and no matter what happened, he needed to finish and just kind of slay some demons. And I think he did, and I think this is going to be really good for him. And I
Hmm.
feel, will he come back and win worlds or something like that? I don't know. But I think now by doing this, mentally he's going to be able to be a contender again.
Hmm.
And I think in the next two races, he's got a real shot to qualify for Worlds now. Whereas in this race, I thought he just wasn't ready. And I think he what he did is exactly what he needed to do. And
Hmm.
he didn't have a great race and he didn't quit and he just plowed through and he fought all those. Like, if you've ever had, you know, something like this happen where you lose a parent and that kind of grief, it's hard to fight through. And it hits everybody different. And people can tell you a bunch of different stuff, and it won't really matter because it's just how you're going to deal with it. And I think he turned a page, and I think he crossed over a certain plateau, and I think he's going to be better off.
Yeah. Well, and I think because with Ryan, as he has said, his a lot of his motivation for racing had to do with his dad who passed. So he has to reframe what racing is to him, and it's more than just the grief of a person; it's the grief of what sport is to you
Yeah,
previous, and now it's turning a page and now it's something new. So, he kind of has to rebirth this new Ryan Kent in what this racing is to him now. And I think one of the coolest things that happened to him, and this was just from his Instagram stories, was that he had said after the race, I don't know where I'm going to go from here. And, is this it for me? And then there was such an outpouring of support from the community. And ultimately, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the hybrid space. And for him, that could be his now reframing of what this all is for him. And then it can give him a little bit more purpose and motivation because, racing, although, and the training and everything can be selfish in its own in the day-to-day things that you have to do. But I think at the end of the day, when it's not, and your why and your purpose is so much bigger than yourself, I think that's really when you find um when you can really get into those dark places and make something happen that really at that level, that's what you have to do. And, I think for him, maybe finding what it is for the community to support him the way that they do could just be it for him that could turn things around. So, we hope that we see more of Ryan Kent and that this weekend being able to finish and just see how much people do really want to see him do well still could just help him move forward.
yeah. That post you say what I saw like in his eyes is like a re-establishing of belief in humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's great. So I'm very excited to see what comes from him for the rest of the year. And whether he makes it or not, I think that this is great. Is massive for him. And I'm excited. I think it was a huge turning point. Um, you want to go from, since we had like what the community can do, that's awesome, to what the community can do where they're fucking stupid.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
go?
So with the Dylan Scott thing, so I mean, if you know Dylan, you love Dylan. How can you not? So when Dylan finished, he celebrated and got in the camera and said some things. I don't even remember something about, that's who I am or something. And he got a little bit, what, you're gonna say what he said?
Yeah, he basically
Oh,
said, you know my name now.
something like that. Or yeah. And there was a lot of trolls online because whoever they are, I don't know. Um, that would just make comments about him lacking humbleness in that moment and kind of chirping his celebration and saying it was too much or whatever.
So I put out to any person who said his celebration was too much. First off, for me, I'm going to go over my categories, my rules of celebration. I like rules. My rules of celebration. You cannot, or you should not badmouth another person. You should not negatively put down someone else in your celebration. You should not say anything offensive in your
Mhm.
celebration. You should not try to show somebody up in your celebration. Beyond that, if you're boisterous and loud and proud of yourself, great. What, in my mind, Dylan's celebration was pure, raw joy and emotion for putting in a shit ton of work and accomplishing an incredibly difficult goal.
And in a head-to-head battle, like it's so different than if he ran away from it from the gun, like a Lauren Weeks thing. And if she did that, they'd be like, yeah, okay. Maybe that wasn't much. But his race was a head-to-head battle, and you didn't know if he was gonna get it until literally he crossed the line. That's you're fighting way more to win that race in that moment. Like, so um I think some of it too is that he had that super intense battle in the race.
And it's also a head-to-head against a guy who was arguably the best to do it yet,
Yeah.
and a guy who has constantly underestimated Dylan or not put Dylan in that category of people that he should be concerned about.
Uh-huh.
And that's to win that and to be excited about that is okay. It shows passion. It shows that he loves the sport. It shows that he wants it badly. He did nothing wrong. And I defy people who said that was too much. Show me a sport and a celebration and a high-end athlete who doesn't celebrate that way over a big win.
Hmm.
I've seen guys in football get a single sack, not win the game, not a single sack, and celebrate three times as hard as that,
Hmm.
and to an offensive point.
Hmm.
It's I just do not get it. And anybody, I take it to task. Anybody who thinks that that was an offensive or over the top celebration, you don't know what the fuck sport is.
Right. And I mean, we saw Hunter running into the stations at like station 2 and 3 and flexing and playing to the cameras and like
Mhm.
some of it too is and part of that is Hunter likes to create a show.
Yeah.
So and I mean, I didn't see any people trashing that online either. So it's some of it is just part of the showmanship of it. And same thing, like there was criticism also from people that were from the CrossFit community. And I've seen bigger celebrations when people just win a workout.
Yeah. One what?
Right. Workout. So again, it was by far, I think, excessive.
I have seen bigger, crazier celebrations from guys scoring a goal in men's league when they're down 8-0.
Yeah. And I was at the race and I didn't feel like it was excessive and I watched the whole thing and I didn't think there was anything wrong. I couldn't believe that he was getting that kind of messages.
No, no. And by the way, also awesome kudos to Dylan because he may be the ultimate troll hunter. Like, he is just slamming these guys. It's awesome. You probably never saw, but I did see Hiller did a thing when shortly after when Dylan beat him, and he didn't really say much about Dylan. He was more kind of commenting on Hunter getting beat, but he said like the the skinniest guy with the widest shoulders he's ever seen. And I mentioned it to Dylan, and Dylan goes, "Well, I can't really argue with him." And he heard it too. He listened. He said, "There's nothing there that got me," but yeah, I think it's just a case of I know some people that bashing him are from the CrossFit community. Some people bashing him are Hunter fans.
Yeah.
And you know what? I guess that's sport too, and that's part of what you got to take with it. But yeah, like we say, if you know Dylan, you gotta love the guy. The guy is a class act. I give you the shirt off that kind of guy. A guy that takes time for anybody that wants to talk to him, which we saw firsthand.
Yeah.
And it's just I just think that you the people that are criticizing for this are you're missing out on what a really good character he is, what a really good person he is. Um, yeah, it was sad to see, and I'm glad so many people like all of us run to his defense. Not that he needs us, but we're there. We're there. You don't need us, but we're in.
Yeah.
What do you think about how he's showing you don't need a 400-pound back squat to succeed at this sport?
Hmm.
Dylan will self admit, and he did so in one of the comments that like, yeah, um, there's a like 500,000 women going to CrossFit who can out back squat him and stuff like that, and he's like, yeah, I don't need to do that. Do you think that it's just that stuff like that will change the way people train for it?
Like seeing guys like
Yeah,
Dylan.
yeah,
Well, I mean, the trick is though, is yes, Dylan is a smaller build than a lot of them, but his volume of training and his specificity for Hyrox is like out of this world though, too. So it just kind of depends. Hyrox is so tricky in that it kind of depends on where your strengths are too. So you do not have to lift the heaviest. And Dylan doesn't do a whole lot of strict lifting
no.
specifically. Like so much of his volume is just sheer volume workouts and
He's doing compromised lifting.
AMRAPs. Yeah, exactly. Which is Hyrox. So you don't have to be you don't have to be the strongest, but do you have to lift if you're not necessarily that strong? Yes,
Yeah,
you should. But it's just so individual. And the high rocks ultimately, you don't have to be freakishly strong. You have to be fit and you have to be able to move heavy weight with a high heart rate. And that's quite different than doing, a 400-pound back squat.
yeah. I believe, and this is I get flack for this, but I think High Rocks is a better judge of fitness than CrossFit is because CrossFit is so reliant on skills. And so I think it's more towards power and less where I think that CrossFitters will debate me on this forever because they have their definition of what fitness is. And their definition of fitness includes gymnastic skills and other things. And I don't think fitness actually includes that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from the people that I know that have done well in CrossFit or wanted to do well, they've had to give up things like running to focus on gymnastics.
Yeah.
So, you know, one would not be beneficial for doing better at high rocks. And from a fitness standpoint, when it comes to like your aerobic capabilities, handstand walking and the other gymnasticsy type stuff isn't necessarily going to improve the aerobic fitness.
No.
So I don't know. Again, it's different sports. So I just don't think that you can say CrossFit prepares you to be really good at everything because it doesn't. It prepares you to be really good at CrossFit.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes you fit. It makes you in good condition.
Absolutely.
But it's not going to bring you to the top of any other sport,
No, just
including high rocks,
CrossFit.
which is the closest sport to it.
Yeah.
So All right, we'll go from that. Let's talk about uh all the guest CrossFitters. I guess the better way. I guess
Yeah,
the way.
well, that was really great to see though, because well, during the Elite 15, I did see Matt Fraser came in with his crew and um and he was there to congratulate the winners. I don't know if they asked him to do that or not or um but yeah, so he came in and he did a doubles race with his friend um, very much for fun. And he said it many times, I'm doing this for fun. He even raced in jogging pants to show he's racing for
And
fun.
like a giant baggy t-shirt
Yeah. Like we get it. You're doing it for fun. They
in
race
the open wave.
in an open wave, um, which is good. And which I think he had to go over the top with, wearing the track pants and the big baggy shirt and stuff because to shut people up a little bit. But like, oh, if he was really trying or whatever, I don't know. Um, but anyways, I don't even know their time. I don't think they really cared that much, but they were very much there for fun. But then we did see James Sprague come out and he legitimately raced.
Oh, he raced hard.
Yeah, he raced hard. And it was cool for us because he was in a battle with Jesse Bruce, our Canadian boy. And Jesse Bruce did edge him out at the end. But, James Sprague was not coming in like, I'm just going to do this thing for fun. He came out and he raced hard. And I saw interviews with him after, and he said, for any CrossFitters who think that this is easy, it's not. It's really hard. So come out and put your money where your mouth is. So I did appreciate that too about him. And he won his age group. The under 24 age group. So he has qualified for Worlds. I feel like he's going to go based on some of the things that he said. I did see Justin Medeiros and his girlfriend,
I did
Ellie.
too.
Yeah, they ran by us at one point. Again, like solid time with their doubles.
Yeah. They won their age group as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it was really good to see. So we are seeing a lot of bigger names in the CrossFit world come out and give Hyrox a shot. So it's good.
I think it's awesome. And I think the big thing I take, so I think there's been like obviously two guys who from high level CrossFit who have given solo a shot, and that would be Ricky Garrard and now
James.
James. And I think James probably put more emphasis on it than Ricky as to how much it meant. And so I'm not going to badmouth James at all. I think what he did was amazing. I'm just going to keep in mind because we saw this on I don't know if you saw the barbell spin or I showed it to you, whatever, but we've been going back and forth all day. All right, so let's just be clear what James Sprague did. All right. James Sprague ran a 103.05 or 103.05, 63.05, which is a great time, especially for a first guy out. It's really good. And that won him his age group, which again is fantastic. So he is qualified for world championships in age group. It's a very big difference between that and the Elite 15. So, for example, in the Elite 15, he's roughly 5 to 6 minutes off the pace to be considered a threat for that. So that's still a long way to go, especially for a guy who was already very, very fit. Right. So some people can get a lot of beginner gains when they go because they're not fit enough, but dude's already obviously super fit. Right. So he did that. In reality, he placed I believe 32nd
Of
if
pro, yeah.
of pro if you include the Elite 15, right?
Hmm.
Somewhere in that neck of the woods. And again, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But this is not the world championship either. This is a qualifying world
Yeah.
championship. So you have to keep in mind what he did. And I said this is one of the reasons that the post that barbell spin did that upset me because I thought it was very misleading when it
Yeah.
just James Sprague qualifies for world championship. Um, and then the other part was does wall balls faster than any other pro,
Yeah.
which is not the case at all. He did not. There were quite a few that did wall balls faster than
Well, and
him.
he didn't do them unbroken.
No,
He
he did
like,
not do
and he
them.
didn't say that he did either, which I find so funny. So this is not a James Sprague written. It was CrossFit
Yeah,
article,
barbell spin, barbell spin.
barbells. Yeah. So, and he did correct it too. He's like, I did not, and I actually broke it up into like 4 or 5 sets. Like, the goal would be to do it one day, but I did not.
James Sprague has said nothing wrong on this. He has been absolutely nothing
Yeah.
but so so no harsh to him whatsoever. But and again, sympathies to the barbell spin because obviously the high rock system is not nearly as easy to search for stats and placements as it was before. So I understand why that could be getting messed up. But
Well, then don't spew false facts. As if
especially when you put on it fun fact. When your fun fact is not a fact, that doesn't look good.
it's very far from being
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah. So anyway, he did great. He qualified as an age grouper. Hopefully he goes. Hopefully more CrossFit people come and join him. Chandler Smith, another guy that came up
Yeah.
and raced doubles with Dylan. I believe they came fourth in their age group. But what I looked at the stats and I am blown away that Chandler ran that fast. And I was like,
Yes.
well done, because that dude is
Like
carrying
three,
a
I think
lot
he
of
was averaging
mass.
around a 350.
Yeah, and he's carrying a lot of mass.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really impressive. I wish I
Yeah.
had seen it. I
And
didn't.
he did state after that that could have been one of the hardest things he's ever done, trying to doing that doubles race with Dylan.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they
He-
ran 56:36.
Yeah, that's really good. That was
So
fourth place.
um, let me see here. I believe it was. I'll take a look. So divisions, we are going with doubles pro, gender men. That was fourth overall, sorry.
Okay. Cool.
Third in their age. So they were beat by Anthony Parasini, James Kelly, and Samuel Libert and Matthew McLean. So a couple of good teams.
No shame there. Yeah.
No, no, no shame. That was an awesome performance by Chandler to get in there. I would not have expected him to do that. Now here's the thing, I'm gonna blow a little hole in the thing here. They were slower than Dylan was on his own.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
They ran a
still,
different race.
they ran a different race. They didn't run the grid, so maybe that plays into it. And they had to deal with traffic.
Well, but I will say,
I'm
and
trying here, Chandler, because I'm
yeah,
sure he's listening.
yeah, I mean, like Dylan does average a fair bit faster than that on the running. So, um, I will say though, this race was very smooth when it came to running around people. And there was the number that I heard was 10,000 people were at this event. And we talked about the Toronto Hyrox, and Toronto Hyrox almost made me never wanted to do it again with how bad it
You were
was.
pretty pissed off. You were pretty pissed off.
Yes, for how bad it was for people not moving out of the fast lane and like running into people and people, stopping when they had to go into the inn and all these things. And people swearing at you like you're doing something wrong because you're running too fast. And it was awful. This one, I had no problems. Generally, and again, Toronto was 80% new people. At this event, it felt like people just understood the flow of the running. And you can have that many people in the course, but as long as you understand, leave space to your left, it was totally fine. And I didn't have any issues this time. And there was times like in the mixed doubles when it was busy, but it's not like I could never not open up my stride and run. And in general, people stayed out of the fast lane except to pass, and it worked perfectly. No issues.
You passed us twice, and we were always off to the side.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so it was run very well, and they did such a good job too of that funneling system of getting people through the course without running through the runners. That was smart.
So you know what? You're talking about the
The
crossing.
corrals, the corrals, and then you move the runners, and then yeah.
Yeah. Do you know why that worked so much better than it did, say, in New York? And I didn't catch it actually. Riley caught it as to the why the course crossing worked so much better.
What? No.
In New York, it was the same thing. They filter all the runners across to one part of the course, right? And then they
Yeah.
bring people into the middle
Yeah.
and then filter the runners to the other side and then filter them out.
Yeah.
But in New York, when you were first in, they wanted you to go all the way to the end and then you'd be last out. And so people wouldn't go down to the end and they wouldn't fill up the corral. This time,
Okay.
this time when the people crossing the course, when they filtered them in because they out was on the other end, they wanted to be down there, so they filled it up faster and easier, and it worked so much better.
Okay. Yeah, it was very, very smooth. And I never really had to wait too long to cross.
No, no, me neither. Me neither.
Yeah.
Like usually once or twice the most you would have to wait to get across, and it was fast.
Yeah, very fast. And even as a runner, when you had to go that little bit extra around, I didn't feel like it wasn't so far that it was added more time or anything. So I thought it was very, very smooth.
Shockingly, I think on the whole, we got caught twice. On like when you think you were doing whatever, almost 3 laps per, we only had to do that twice.
Oh, I did it more than that, but
Yeah, well, you gotta time it. You gotta slow your ass down. All the time.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And the warm-up area, I liked that you didn't have to cross the track to go to the washroom out of the warm-up area or anything.
hmm
Right there, I thought logistically it was really well set up this time.
Yeah, I agree.
There was
Yeah.
water in the warm-up area.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was a big one. The warm-up
Mhm.
area was big, had lots of equipment. Here's the thing I noticed though. Just now that I think about the warm-up area, they had turf for the sleds in the warm-up area, and the sleds move so much easier on that turf.
They did move so much easier in the
I
run.
fell down on my first pull in the warm-up area.
Yeah.
I literally like whoop, boom, fell over, and I didn't trip on the rope there. I tripped on the rope during the race, but there I just fell down because I was ready to give it this massive pull, and just it
Mhm.
went.
Yeah.
So
Um, do you want to talk about so the pro race, not Elite 15, was
yeah,
also
talking about that.
exciting. So the which was an extremely stacked field on the women's side.
And the
Like I
man.
was in that race and I was not in that race at the same time. But yeah, we had so in the women's pro race on the Saturday, which most of the women like the contenders for were in that race and we had so Morgan Schultz won in a very close battle with Kate or Catherine Fassbender in a 104 and then a 14 both 104s. We had Alondra in there, but her time still needs to be rectified. But she did the farmer's carry was a two loop and she didn't realize it. And so she'll have a bit of a penalty there. And then Tara Jackson with a 106. So, and then Chris Rogloski was in there, and we had Maria Fessick was in there, Katie Simonson, and it was a very, very stacked field of women. So, really exciting race to be a part of.
Yeah, and for the Alondra thing, so her time will obviously affect the overall of that race, but it will still keep her in first in her age group, and we'll still have her winning that age group qual for Worlds.
Oh, okay. The men's race was even maybe more interesting because it was won by Grayson Kilgore, who was three heats after the stacked heat. So we had
And who we really like.
yes. So we had Dawson Miller and then Jake Williamson who had quite a battle and they were only 20 seconds difference in the end. But then Grayson, who he just said it's his fault for not activating his ticket sooner. We we know Grayson he's in really good shape right now. We saw him at DECA World and we did say to him, like, you could win this, but you're gonna have to run it by
Mhm.
yourself, basically. And he did, and he ran a full minute faster than the winner of the heat where it was very stacked. So he ran a 58 low, totally by himself, in a heat later in the day.
Yeah, I think next year we may see Grayson in the Elite 15.
hmm So his time would have put him ninth in the elite, eighth or ninth in the elite 15.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so I think that's what I think this year, like you're needing an average of less than 57:30 to pretty much get in there.
Yeah.
Um, and I think right now I don't think he has that average quite yet. So, but that's why I think next year he'll get in there. And I think his running is just going to get better by that time too. So I think next year he'll be a threat.
Mhm. So, and then we had six notable Canadians
Yes, yes.
racing this weekend also, and so their times were all 2 minutes within each other. So Austin Azar was a low 60,
Mhm.
Isaac 101, Sammy Bear 101, Cole Learn 101, Adam DeJong 102, Jesse Bruce 102.
I never saw Adam. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was also a 102.
Yeah, and then the Canadian boys also teamed up to destroy the four-person relay and win that.
hmm Yeah.
When I heard that team, I'm like, yeah, there's not a shock there.
Yeah.
And also, as we just said, Matthew McLean and Sam as well, podium there. Yeah, they were looking good. They were looking really good.
Mhm.
Want to see some more of that. And then this brings us to the biggest piss off for me of the weekend is the thing that we harp on forever is the why the fuck are people out of open qualifying for Worlds to run pro? And in this case, costing Samuel and Cole Learn their age group spots at Worlds.
Yes.
Nobody knows, nobody will ever know, and it's just fucking dumb.
Yes. So you can qualify from an open heat to run at Worlds. At Worlds, it's only pro weights.
So the big one about this one was the two guys in open, no slagging them. I'm sure they're great people, but they get the qual. And not only did they get it from open, not running pro, but they actually ran slower in open than Sam and Cole did in pro.
Yeah.
And that's just there's no logic there.
No.
So that was probably the thing that bothered me more than anything on this weekend. And
Mhm.
it's not like this is a new one. We've been beating this horse to death for since day one.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep going and be sure the more and more people at Hyrox that listen to me, I'll be sure to keep bringing it up and up and up and up again. So maybe one day we'll get it right. Um,
Yeah.
Other than that, what was your overall feel for the event? Because you said you liked it better in Toronto.
Yeah, so I just felt like everything was so smooth in Vegas, and I don't know if it was just because mo a majority of the people there have done this before and they kind of get the gist of some of the things and the flow of the way a High Rocks works. And I guess that my biggest frustration with Toronto was that it was overcrowded and the fast lane was overcrowded with people not running fast. And this one was just so smooth. And it's the little things. And we talk about this all the time with, things that Hyrox does well. And noticing the little things and the overall customer experience is what keeps people coming back. And, we talked about how the warm-up area, there was only athletes allowed in there. And it went right into the starting corral. And there was bathrooms right there. And there was water in there. That's all fantastic. That helps the customer experience. And even, it was so smooth getting people across that you didn't have to wait for it. And the ability to watch the whole race as a spectator was fantastic. And there was never a point where, and they did such a good job with making the spaces so big that it's not like you were ever three people deep and you couldn't see the people you wanted to cheer on. And there was ample amounts of water on the course. They were constantly mopping the floor, which
Mhm.
also in Toronto, there was times when you felt like you were running through a lake of water. There was like, all these little things, which really I felt added up. There was great judging. There was times when I was warned and I'm not even really at the top and just little things. It's not like I was even doing anything wrong, but just make sure it's your hands are closer, whatever, this and that. Judging was great. So they all of the little things to me really added up in Vegas to just being a better overall experience. They allowed pre-registration on Friday night if you got there. So then you don't have to, be there and worry about the lineups before your races. And I thought overall it was a very, very well executed race weekend. To have 10,000 people put through a venue, it was well done.
So I'm going to say one other thing that I really liked about it over Toronto too, and this was something that very much probably angered me as much about Toronto as your
Mhm.
running on the course did for you. In Toronto, they had the waiting corral for people for wall balls where they would shut off their clock and wait for a spot to open. That was nary to be found in Vegas. There was no backup. There was no bottleneck. Everybody got through, as far as I know, as far as I saw, and I
Yeah,
haven't
I never saw that happen.
never heard, I haven't heard anything different at this point. And I definitely, as a judge, was not told about any corral for any waiting or anything. So that was massively better. And I think that is, I can't emphasize how important that was. I will say, what's that? Oh, okay. I will say that the judging still needs work. There is a very massive drop off after the Elite 15 and through some of the pros, and it still needs work. It needs, I'll say it's improved. It improved. Um,
Mhm.
but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we saw was the open heats. They were just a little bit too lax on some things.
Yeah, yeah. And I've heard other people say, and we talked with Matt and I talked to him on the show there. where he thinks, oh, we should let some of the people who are taking longer, whatever, little breaks. I don't believe that's true. I believe everybody should be getting the same judging experience because that's what they paid for. And everybody should be held to the same standard unless you are an adaptive some way, unless there's some way you have to adapt it. And that's great. If that's the case, cool, then we'll make it happen. But if you're
Mhm.
racing for a spot, and you've signed up for this, then this is part of the deal. That's just
Mhm.
the way it is. And I don't think that there's any moves out there that somebody who's fully able-bodied can't get through.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Open can qualify these people.
Yes, and since you can qualify for Worlds from Open, then you better damn well believe you should get proper judging.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, my other big fail was me. I tried to live stream Bethany's thing and my phone died. She had like 30 wall balls left and my phone died. And then not only did it
Fine, it was not worth it.
not only did it not finish the live stream, but it didn't save it too because of that, so she can't look back and get her splits.
Yeah,
So,
I have no videos and no photos of me racing. It was
so.
like it didn't happen, which is fine.
It's good you didn't win, right? Because then you'd be pissed at me.
Oh gosh, if it was a PB, I'd be probably more upset, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, okay. Anything? So last thing, anything you want to talk about your race or how it went? You and
Yeah, my solo, well, there was a time when I wasn't even gonna race it because there was conflict with the timing, and it's like it's really hard. Early February, because we raced up a Worlds. I took 2 weeks off, which is December, middle of December. I took 2 weeks off, so I kind of had 4 weeks to build a little bit for this race, which really means like 3.5 weeks, and I knew I wouldn't be really ready for it. But you're always hoping that old fitness or something will just carry over. And I've been doing a lot more strength. So I knew my running was suffering a little bit, but you just kind of hope that, maybe things will just click and it'll be fine. I had talked to Katie Simonson before because I knew if I could kind of keep her in eyesight, then I would be able to kind of be close or potentially get that spot to qualify for Worlds with the roll downs. And um yeah, we hit the sleds and people had said the sleds were heavy. And as someone who generally, that's my biggest weakness, I hit the sleds and I tried to keep the push level with Katie and some of the other girls. And it took so much out of me to try to move that sled at the pace that the other girls did. And then I hit the pole and um, it did not go well. And then after that, for me, I had just lost the ability to even run. Like it was just kind of carnage after that. And the pole really blew up my grip. So then even rowing was hard. Farmer's carry, I had to set down a bunch of times. And it kind of felt like I was just trying to salvage anything left of it. And then I knew my time was so far off of what I wanted. So then it's hard to really dig really deep at the end. And yeah, I didn't, I felt at the end just that the fitness wasn't there. And then you kind of feel stupid that you thought maybe it was. But then Hyrox is so tricky because there's the running component and there's the strength component. And obviously the strength component is my weakness. So I've been putting more time into that. And I don't have tons of time in the day, especially owning a gym in January. So you prioritize one thing and you kind of hope that it's going to work out for you. And sometimes it just doesn't always the way you hope. And
yeah.
we don't have many opportunities to race Hyrox, so I didn't want to miss out on not racing it. But every race is not going to feel fantastic. And every race is not going to be a PB. And sometimes it feels really, really shitty. And you run a lot slower and you kind of have to take those lumps with it because that's what racing is, right? And I think sometimes with a sport being so new and people PBing often because of just, the natural learning curve that comes with racing something new, that when you start to hit points where you're like, I'm not PBing anymore. I PB'd, this is my fourth solo race.
Mhm.
And, I've taken chunks of time off every one, and then this one I did not. And kind of stings a little bit, but at the same time, you're like, well, it is pretty normal
Yeah.
also. with racing, at some point you're not in your best shape because you can't be year round, and it's part of it. So you kind of take that and you build on it. And I've spent a lot of time really thinking about, if I do want to really take time off, I can't. Running is obviously my strength, so I can't neglect that and just kind of hope it carries on. So I have to really, you still have to work your strengths, and you can't ignore that too. So it was good for me in the experience of it to kind of get slapped in the face a little bit with a really painful race. And but yeah, we're gonna figure some things out, and we're gonna get back to some really solid blocks of training. I don't really have anything significant now until Hyrox World, so we're gonna put in a really good block of training and kind of sort all that out. And we
Yeah.
had doubles, and that was kind of a bit of a bit of a gong show.
You guys still did pretty well. I mean, you were eighth in age for doubles, and you
I know.
definitely didn't have your best one. The funny thing is, if I look at it and I look at the top 10, it shows you eighth in age, and if I click on you guys, it says you're fourth. Again, system,
Oh,
man.
weird. Oh gosh, yeah, the system. Well, it was Jeff's second race of the day, which he's never done that before.
Mhm.
And it coming out of the skier, he was like, Beth, I'm cramping up everywhere.
Off the
I'm
skier
like,
ring.
this is the first station. Like, it's okay, we'll take it back a little bit on the running, but every station he was like, I'm cramping up everywhere, like everywhere. So I took a lot more of the stations than I had really anticipated. And even when we got to the lunges, he's like, I can't. He's like, I can't do it. So I was almost down the whole lane of lunges, and I'm like, can you give me like 5 lunges? Like, just give me a couple. So he did a couple. He's like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I could do a couple more. And then going into lunges, so he was fine as long as he was moving, but he hit lunges and then you stopped.
Yeah.
And he stopped at the entrance of the lunges, or sorry, the wall balls, and he totally seized up,
Oh,
like couldn't move. So then I get to my wall balls, which is way at the end, and the judge is like, no, 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 you can't go. And I'm like, why? He's like, your person's not here. And I look back and Jeff is like straight leg running. His hamstrings have completely see that he's straight leg running towards me. And he's like, I can't do anything. I can't. So I'm like, great. Now I'm gonna have to do 100 wall balls again.
well,
But same thing. I'm like, can you give me 5 wall balls? Just give me 5 somewhere here. So
I
yeah, it was a bit of comedy of errors, but
I need to thank Jeff because I was considering doing the two in the one day, and after his experience and the way I felt after my first one, I'm like nuts to that. I'm not going through that. I'm gonna lock up, be dead
oh
for.
yeah. He locked up so bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, kudos to him to try two in one day is a freaking lot, and he
Mhm.
did get through it. He did get through it, so good for him.
Yeah, we did.
But yeah, our race was as we expected, right? We ran a race slower than what our last one is substantially, but we knew that was going to be the way coming in. We knew neither of us had been preparing for Hyrox. We just were doing it for fun. We had a good time and we had fun. Riley actually did much better than we expected. She took some more of the zones than we expected. Um, we were both feeling horrible until the row. And going into the row, we had a plan, and I said to her on the run, I'm like, let's just screw the plan. Let's just have a recovery row. And we did have a recovery row, and it actually wasn't that bad, but we just started it out slower and then finished it strong. And then we went back out after that. We're like, okay, we're still not going fast, but we feel better now.
Mhm.
And that was the big thing for us. And yeah, it's really for us. It's just we just don't run fast enough right now because we don't run enough because we haven't been focused on it. So not this year, but maybe next year we might put in a little more into focusing on it when we hit that 50 to 59 group and see if we can dial ourselves in a little bit better.
Mhm.
But it was good fun, and the kilt worked.
The kilt worked.
The kilt worked. Got lots of attention with the kilt.
Oh my God, yes.
Lots of kudos. Everybody was very,
Mhm.
very impressed or whatever. I don't know what the word is. You know, the point of the kilt, by the way, too, is just to remind me that we're just having some fun.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it never came into play at all, except a little bit on the transitions on the rower.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But like once it got set, I was fine. But just the transition was a little slower than our normal one.
Mhm.
Camera person being in the way.
Which time was that? Yeah, the camera guy got no camera girl or guy got in the way when we were trying to do one transition. They were just standing beside there taking pictures. But
Mhm.
again, we didn't really care because of where we were at. So anyway, I think that's it. It was a good experience. We had fun. And I don't think I'll go back to Vegas.
Yeah. I've gone to Vegas twice in my life, and both times I've laughed. I'm like, ugh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I've seen Vegas.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong. It's just not my scene.
Yeah, no. No.
So if you are
Vegas is
interested,
wild.
if you're interested in going to Vegas, go. It was a great race. Everybody put things on, and it's a cool place. It's just not my scene. So
Hmm.
maybe if I
Yeah.
drank and gambled and did those things that they do in Vegas that I don't do,
Smoke cigarettes.
smoke cigarettes and cigars, and
In public places, indoors.
we'll never get used to that.
So weird. Yeah.
All right, Beth, take us home. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, thanks so much everyone for listening. And to everyone who raced in Vegas, congrats. It was a very good weekend. And yeah, we had a really good time. So, and congrats to our winners of the Elite 15, Lauren and Dylan. It was really awesome watching you guys race, and Morgan and Grayson of the pro heats. And yeah, just keep doing an awesome job there. And we love this community and everything that it's all about. So thanks everyone.
Take care.